Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Poonam Burde. A year ago, the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, stood up in his parliament and said that Canadian security agencies have been actively perusing credible allegations of a potential link between the agents of the Indian government and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Yesterday, during a public inquiry, he admitted that Canada had no hard evidentiary proof to support these allegations he had made. This testimony comes amid heightened diplomatic tensions between the two countries. There was tit-for-tat expulsion of diplomats that we saw in this last 1 week. The Indian government has consistently argued that Canada provides a safe haven for pro-Khalistani elements who pose a threat to India's security, including Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But dossiers after dossiers, there has been no action that has been taken by the Canadian administration, no extradition requests that have been paid heed to. This latest admission by Justin Trudeau has only vindicated India's stand that allegations of our alleged role in the killing of a Khalistani separatist are nothing short of ludicrous. So let's take a look at what exactly transpired. Yesterday, Justin Trudeau was deposing before a parliamentary panel in his country over foreign interference, which is where he said that primarily we had intel but no hard evidence at the time when these allegations were made of Indian agents' link with the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. India then made it very clear that this only confirms India's consistent stand that there has been no proof that has been shared with us over the last 1 year. Justin Trudeau yesterday said that he was briefed about intelligence at the time when he made those allegations, and he raised those allegations with India as well when he was here in India during the G20 summit. India has then gone on to say that Canada has not presented them with any evidence. We have no evidence whatsoever of what these allegations are and why they are being made against any of our Indian agents. Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, said that not only was the intel from his own security agencies, but possibly from Five Eyes nations as well. India then said that for this entire fiasco, what India called as cavalier behavior of Canada and of Justin Trudeau, MEA said that nobody else but Justin Trudeau alone is to blame for this. Now, opposition parties here in India seem divided though on this issue. Many of them did come out and slam the Canadian Prime Minister over his callous behavior. But there were some within the Congress who put the onus on the Indian government for the current situation. Let's begin with what Jairam Ramesh said yesterday. He is a Congress Member of Parliament. He is also the communications in charge. He put out a long social media post yesterday where he said that these charges are tarnishing India's reputation. They threaten to damage brand India. A nation's international image is at risk, which is why opposition parties must be taken into confidence by the government, and the government must come out and clarify. Charanjit Singh Channi, also a Member of Parliament now, served as the Chief Minister of Punjab not too long ago. He went on to say that we should not spoil relationships with Canada because we have so many Punjabis, so many students studying there, so many Punjabis who stay in Canada, and ties with them have to be maintained. He also went on to say that the Indian government must take steps to improve bilateral relations because they are now at a stage which is not going to help either of the countries. Rashid Alvi, another Congress leader, said that this situation is decreasing India's respect globally, and that if this current situation prevails, then our reputation will continue declining. So while Justin Trudeau, in the last 1 year, by his own admission yesterday, has given absolutely no proof of what India's alleged role is, why is the onus then on the Indian government to come out and clarify anything? Is the Congress justified in questioning the Modi government? That's what we asked tonight.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
At that point, it was primarily intelligence, not hard evidentiary proof. So we said, well, let's work together and look into your security services and maybe we can get that done. No, we're not doing that.
There is a pattern. The pattern is motivated by political considerations on the part of the Canadian Trudeau government. There is a clear pattern to smear India.
ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਖਰਾਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ। ਸਾਡੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਧਾਰੇ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਰੋਜ਼ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ।
कनाडा को चाहिए कि वो जो भी आतंकवादी उनके यहाँ पनाह लिए हुए हैं उनको वो भारत को सुपुर्द करें ताकि भारत के कानून के अनुसार उनके साथ यथोचित कार्रवाई की जा सके।
Let's open this up. Tom Wadakan, national spokesperson of the BJP, joins us. Syed Asad Abbas, political analyst leaning towards the Congress. Tara Karta, former director, NSCS, joins us as well. Tom Wadakan, let me begin by asking you. You know, the Congress has tried to course correct now. We've had Pawan Khera of the Congress party come out and say that we stand with the government of the day. But opposition leaders must be taken into confidence. Why then did we see this long post that came to the fore from Jairam Ramesh yesterday? Multiple other Congress leaders then come out and question how brand India, how the global image of our country was taking a hit. Do you think this is the first impulsive reaction perhaps of the opposition?
This is nothing impulsive, Poonam. This is a planned, motivated reaction coming from the Hydra-headed Congress party. They speak different languages. You have people who are not official spokesperson like Rashid Alvi coming on television and saying, well, our image has been disturbed across the... I mean, you know, after that, they'll immediately say he is not the official spokesman. Mr. Khera is the official spokesman. Jairam Ramesh is playing his own music after Haryana defeat. So everybody has their agenda. Now, let me be very candid. Foreign policy has not been a debatable subject over time. Whether at any period of time the opposition has gone along and supported the government of the day. Because this is not a fight against any particular self-interest. This is a fight for the integrity of our country. We have passed a resolution in Parliament about integrity variety of times. And here, this expression is only dissatisfaction on their part, on their political failure. What has happened? Let's examine the whole aspect threadbare. What has happened in Canada is yesterday, that is Canadian time, Justin Trudeau goes and sits before a commission and has a lot of things to say. He says, well, you know, we don't have any evidence, but all we have is some intelligence input. And he also used alleged, he uses the word alleged. He's not very sure what he's talking about. But the reality is there's a clear attempt to divert attention of genuine foreign interference by certain countries who are, he loves certain countries and he doesn't want to expose them. I'm not naming the country concerned, but yes, there's been problems. There's been funding of a parliamentarian. There is influence factors. There are, deep-rooted connect with the political hierarchy in Canada. Then there's cyber war that's going on. Then there is a Muslim nation that has taken them on. So he is surrounded with problems. And he thinks that by bringing in India like a scarecrow, he can, divert attention from his domestic issues. That is the issue. Now, if you ask me to go a little further, Air India, the sabotage that happened to Air India, and the Canadians who died, if the situation was controlled then, you would not have seen that day today. Because Khalistan movement started, they got their root there. And it was Trudeau's father who was there at that time. No action was taken. Today, Khalistanis are required for him to give him support. He's on a losing wicket. And he thinks that Khalistanis would, support him. And the worst part is, we have a particular party in this country which aims at destabilizing our country. Their target is regime change. And they play this card very well all the time. But this playbook that they adopt from Soros and company doesn't work. We have a prime minister who can lead from the front. We have a foreign minister who can reply to the Canadian authorities That kind of authority, which I don't think we have seen any foreign minister do. And our actions are perfect, correct. It was an action they did, and you have a counter reaction. And we are not going to be quiet about it. You make an allegation, and the worst part is they have named some news, television channels as evidence of interference in their political affairs. We telecast from India, and if somebody sees it, I don't think we are so influential to influence the political situation there. When you criticize our country, we will give it back to you. And when you get that, you say, well, channels in India are interfering with the affairs of Canada. Oh, what an example this is.
And the interesting part is he made this, the admission that came from Justin Trudeau was when he was deposing before an international interference panel, and the onus was on him to show that his administration didn't fail as far as Chinese interference is concerned. And even when this entire Niger killing case is concerned, Syed Asad Abbas, the burden of proof is on Canada, not on India. And that has been made very clear. But why then do we have political parties try and not keep this bipartisan?
Poonamji, you're absolutely right on the front that yes, the burden of proof is on Mr. Trudeau. As a matter of fact, I think this so-called leader has embarrassed himself when he has absolutely no concrete evidence or proof, and it's based on mere hearsay. The very important point I'd like to derive, Poonamji, I've always believed with great power, there's great responsibility and equal accountability. The fact I was listening to my dear senior friend Tom Vadakan Sahab, who I have great respect for and debating as well. The fact he articulated a very strong point in the sense of the opposition and the Congress party and the ruling party here, the BJP, need to come together. The fact of the matter is, this needs to be a sacrosanct when it comes to one demand for the country, that we stand united. Now let me reiterate what did Pawan Khera ji say. Pawan Khera ji, being a chief national spokesperson of the Congress party, stated the same. He made it categorically clear that the Congress party stands with India and its position. Also, when we speak of Mr. Jairam Ramesh, who's the chief communication in charge, he's made a very valid point, and allow me to please quote him. Jairam Rameshji says it is imperative that the government of India promptly and clearly articulate its stance on the issue. The opposition must be fully informed, as safeguarding India's global standing is a shared responsibility. Our nation's international image as a country that believes and adheres to rule of law at risk is crucial that we act together to defend it. He's merely stating the same thing. Many a times when we heard Smriti Irani ji, Nirmala Sitharaman ji in the days of UPA, they spoke the same thing. The fact we need to understand, be it the Congress party, the Bharatiya Janata party, or the other leaders of both the houses of parliament need to come together. A mere humble request as a citizen of this country to the Modi ji's esteemed government would be, take all the leaders together, bring in confidence, and then lay out. I am sure every leader, true to its blood, who's elected, come to the assembly or nominated, will abide by this stand.
Sure.
And mind you, Tom Vadakanji, no leader of opposition would want to destabilize our motherland. So that is one statement I think Tom Vadakanji need to take back.
But Syed Asad Abbas, you quoted out of what Jairam Ramesh posted yesterday. So let me quote out the bits that you left out. He said allegations made by Canada are threatening to escalate, tarnishing India's global reputation and damaging brand India.
Absolutely,
Our nation's
Poonamji.
international image as a country that believes in and adheres to rule of law is at risk.
Yes, Poonamji. I'm glad.
Why
you
is it
quoted.
at risk? Why is our image of brand India at risk over allegations that have been made by a leader with no proof, who's admitted it himself that there is no proof of what I said? It's based on intel.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if you go through the same footage, I have quoted this as well, what Jairam Rameshji said. Here, the allegation which is coming in, the Khalistani, Niger, who has always stood by the Khalistani movement, Justin Trudeau and the Canada government believing that he was killed by any of the Indian officials. Yes, there must be a clear stand from the India's government that India and its government had absolutely nothing and no role to play on the same. This would embarrass Justin Trudeau a lot more. A leader of his office, his position, having absolutely no clue.
It's not about him
evidence
being
or
embarrassed a
concrete
lot more.
evidence.
It's just about him being embarrassed. Period. India does
It is
not
very
have the
important.
onus to prove anything here. We're not the ones leveling allegations without any proof. But the point,
Yes, Poonamji.
but the point I was trying to make is that why do we see politicians from opposition ranks jump the gun and make these kind of comments when perhaps patience is what is
I will answer
required?
that in 10 seconds.
When perhaps
I will
patience
answer
is
that.
required. Yes, 10 seconds before I get in the other
10
panelists
seconds.
as well.
Thank you for the time, Poonamji. The fact of the matter, Adarniya Pradhan Mantri Modi ji has said, opposition is the backbone of democracy. And I personally, he said he enjoys the question being asked by the opposition. So opposition in its right has the right to criticize, to question the government in power. And it's important that India and the government makes the stand clear. So that
Which
in
they
the
have.
worldview
Not
and
just in the
geopolitics-
last 12 hours, but in the last 1 year, every single time that these allegations came to the fore.
and the geopolitical front where India shines. And जैसे कहते हैं हमारी जुबान में कि दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी हो जाए, and this man anyway has no concrete evidence whatsoever.
But that still
And we
comes,
must
it
stand
still
united
comes
on
back
that
to
front.
why opposition leaders jump the gun. Tom Vadakan, 30 seconds for your rebuttal. I saw your hand going up before I get in Tara Karta as well. She's been waiting patiently.
Well, the fact of the matter is, having known the Congress party very closely, the entire, I use the word very carefully, regime change is the target because they have realized that electoral battle, there's no takeoff. Under that circumstances, they go and belittle India whenever the dynast of the Congress party visits any foreign country. Democracy is under threat. The federal structure is under threat. This is basically the same line that Jairam Ramesh, the so-called mentor of Rahul Gandhi, uses all the time. And that Soros script is visible. And that is the evidence that I'm stating, and I'm on public record, that this script is being enacted time and again against the present government. While we have to be together, never in the history has the foreign policy been disputed. And here, Jairam Ramesh is, colloquially called the oracle. The oracle makes the pronouncement which his boss wouldn't. And these are testing of waters. They will use this. But the question here is, Abbas, who is afraid of taking the parliamentarians into confidence? Nobody. But if you call them and they don't attend the meeting, we have a problem, Abbas. That's where they make it a point to show there is differences in the government, and that is what brings a bad image to the country. When we call a meeting, they don't come. And when they don't come, the media says, well, there is a huge difference of opinion and that difference of opinion is primarily political and must be confined to India, not onto foreign policy.
I think Tom Vadakanji, let me put this on record as well and say that if, as Tom Vadakan Sahab has articulated, and both the houses of the leaders of opposition and parliament were brought together, the meeting was held, I think that is a great step in the right direction, sir. Undoubtedly, be the opposition or the government, we must be in one stand. Our stand needs to be sacrosanct. We might have our
Thank
differences,
you.
but when it comes to India,
Thank you,
it
Abbas.
has to
At
be the
least
nation
you are
first.
on
There are
the
no
same
two ways
page as
about
I
it.
am.
And yes, sir, absolutely, we must come together. There are no two ways about it. I think we need to understand that to take on the might of the other countries, India as a global Vishwa Guru, I think it's important that unity is the way to go. There could be differences of opinions. जैसे आदरणीय, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji ने कहा था, we might have differences of ideologies, but there should be no differences of opinions when it comes to the interest of the country. मतभेद होना चाहिए, मनभेद नहीं.
Tara Karta, let me get you in on that. Some things have to be above politics, and I don't think any political party can claim high moral ground on that. Would you agree? Because we've seen practically every political party try and gain political mileage out of issues like foreign policy or national security at the times that they've suited them.
Yeah, actually, initially I was very happy to see that the Congress had issued this statement saying we stand behind that was a wonderful thing. And then this kind of statements comes, which is very, very unfortunate. The whole point of what Trudeau did when he came to India and, he got a very bad visit, went back to Parliament and made this accusation, he made it impossible for us to actually do anything. He publicly said these things, and his whole idea is to create precisely this kind of pressure on us, is to divide us, and we must resist that. And I would really beg all political parties to stand together and, show us, as like you said, we've got nothing that we have to prove. This man has gone and made these wild allegations. So why should we, sort of start squabbling over it? Please, we should not. One. Number two, the fact is, this I just want to throw in as a aside. At the end of his deposition, which he made, you know what this man did? He's the last speaker. He says the opposition in his country has been completely taken over. Foreign interference is rife among opposition leaders. Again, without giving any facts, he cites secret stuff which he has, which nobody else apparently has. And he doesn't give a chance to anyone to ask questions. The session ends there. This is what Trudeau does all the time. He makes statements without backing it. He makes statements which makes him look very big. And so we must not fall into that trap.
And it's all an act of a desperate leader, isn't it? His approval ratings are tanking. His re-election for next year doesn't look like it's going anywhere. His own party has no faith in him. The people in the country have no faith in him. More reason why his words should not have any value for political parties here in India, Tarakarta, isn't it?
Absolutely right, Poonam. We should be able together to see this man for what he is. And also, I think we need to make a difference between Trudeau and Canada. We want good relations with Canada, and we will continue to have that kind of a policy. And Trudeau's going, right, as you said. Hopefully he will go. But our relationship with Canada must remain. To that extent, I think we all agree on that. But in other, there is no need for us to go, let them first take action. Just now, half an hour back, the MEA spokesman has said 26 times we've given representation to this country, and they have never done anything. And I want to get another issue. 1985, after the Kanishka bombing, in 89, they threw out 2 Indian embassy officials, again for spying, or for whatever reason. But this is after they did nothing, okay? They did nothing on the Kanishka bombing. But the only difference is during 1989, the government kept very quiet about it. They didn't raise a hue and cry. They didn't name India. They had an issue. They got the embassy officials out, which was the wrong thing to do. But at least this man has, like I said, made it impossible for India to do anything by not giving us any evidence and making him, going back and making this whole thing public. Who's going to talk to him now? He's even made a meeting with NSA public. So which agency, I am from the, NSA, I would never talk to a man like this. Because what I say today, tomorrow he's going to talk in the newspapers.
Absolutely. His personal credibility is down the dumps. Unfortunately, whether that translates into credibility that Canada has, we perhaps hope not that it doesn't escalate to that, because elections are going to happen next year in Canada. He's around for a few more months, and God knows how much more damage he can do given what he's done in the last 1 year. But on that note, I have to leave it here. All we can hope is that politicians in India are on the same page as far as issues like national security and foreign policy is concerned. I thank all my panelists for joining us here on this edition of Plain Speak. Time for a quick break, but on the other side, we'll get you details of why there are so many hoax calls, hoax bomb threats that are being made to Indian airlines. We'll get you details of what the government has lined up.